What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and do you remember this? I don't know if I ever showed it in a video, but I did have it in one of my thumbnails. I decided to make this, and I mean it pretty accurately speaks to what needs to happen, and we knew it needed to happen. Of course, Edouard Mendy possibly coming in soon-ish, so fingers crossed. But I wanted to add something to this. So that one. I misspelled his name on accident, but that one. Of course, that one. Maybe? Because here's the thing. Christensen's an obvious one. Jorginho, I've had my issues with. He's had his ups and downs under Lampard, but recently it's been downs. He's not gotten any better. Barkley is just a trash player, so I don't know why we still have him. We gave him his chance. He had a couple good games, and then after the lockdown, done nothing since. So the reason that I'm wondering about Lampard, though, so just for clarification, I'm starting this. It's 92nd minute, still down 2-0, so I don't know how the game's going to end. It's going to end in a loss, I know that, but I just don't know what the final score is going to be. Might be 3. But here's the thing. Going into this game, I'm thinking the lineup needs to change a bit from our first match. Because the first match wasn't really that great. And I talked about, if Brighton were a better team, if they'd finished their chances better, which they did today against Newcastle, we probably wouldn't have won that game. But they didn't finish their chances. We finished the few chances we got from the mistakes they made. Boom, we win. Liverpool's not going to make those same mistakes that Brighton did. They might, but they have enough players that can cover that. Like I said, Van Dijk, he's not a great defender, but he's a great athlete. So if he does make a mistake, he can cover for that mistake most of the time. So we're not going to get the same liberties. We're not going to get the same liberties that we got against Brighton. So we need a better lineup, and we need a better just formation in general and tactics in general against Liverpool. You can't go out with the same tactics that you went out against Brighton with. You just can't. So we did switch up some stuff, but I hate to say it, the switches he made were not good. So first of all, Alonso is still in. It's not a good choice. If you're going to go with a back four, it's not a good choice. So why Alonso? You've got Azpilicueta available. He can play left back. We've seen this. Why isn't Azpilicueta out there? Why aren't you going with a back three? If you go with the back three, not only do you have more cover back there, but now Alonso's playing in his best position, and James is a pretty good right wing back as well. We have more cover for our defense. And we know Liverpool is going to put a lot of pressure back there. If we add another player, now we have more options to pass. On the counterattack, we have somebody who's able to sit a bit deeper and more central and kind of be the sweeper. So you got a good setup if you go with the back three. But he doesn't do that. And on top of that, he still leaves Alonso in. That's an issue. And on top of that, I'm not saying that I definitely would have taken Christensen out of the back four, but I haven't rated him highly, and look at what it led to. I've never been a fan of... Well, okay, never been a fan. I've not been a fan of Christensen over the past 2 seasons. I don't think he's been good. I don't think he's been worth the time we've been giving him. And look at what happened. That's the thing. I talked about my problems with him. Everybody was blasting Rudiger for all of his stupid decisions at the end of last season. But nobody was talking about Christensen and his lack of ability to read the game and his just inability to track runners. And look at what happened. So I'm seeing this stuff and I'm thinking, if I can see it, I'm a pretty intelligent football player, but I'm not on the level of the professionals, and I know this. So if I can see this stuff, why can't they? Why can't they see what's going on with Christensen, and why can't they make the decision and say, you know what, he's not been good, let's either give him another defender to cover for him, or let's get him out. They didn't do either of those things. and look at what happened. For the middle three, I don't have a problem with Conte, Jorginho, and Kovacic, but Conte was the more advanced of the three. Conte and Kovacic were the ones that are getting forward, Jorginho sitting deep. I seem to remember a certain failed manager at Chelsea trying that exact same thing and then was gone after one season. I think his name was Sorry, because his play was also sorry. Yeah, he tried that, didn't he? And it didn't work, right? And yet Lampard's still doing it. Because he did it at first. When he first came in as manager, he did try to make Conte that more forward player, like Sarri was doing. And at first I was like, what are you doing, Frank? You're an idiot. But then at the end of last season, he kind of picked up on, okay, that doesn't work. And he started playing Conte deeper, and it worked out better. And then today against the freaking current champions, you go back to the thing that didn't work. That's why I'm kind of like, Frank, what are you doing? I don't have a problem with him moving Werner outside, but then you put Havertz as your striker, your false nine almost. Why? That's not his position. He's a player, and I haven't seen much of him, and honestly today he didn't cover himself in glory again. But from what I understand, he's the type of player that can get on the ball and make stuff happen. But I've not seen any of him being a target man, even though he's pretty tall, and he looks like he can win the ball in the air. I've not seen him do that. And he doesn't seem the type that wants to win the ball in the air. He doesn't seem the type that wants to put in a challenge when it's up in the air. He seems more the type that wants to receive it to feet, deep, and look to play. So why are we playing him as a false nine? And on top of all of this, why is Giroud not playing? If you're going to play Werner as your striker and you're going to leave Giroud on the bench for that, that's one thing. But if you're going to move Werner out wide, Giroud should be your target man, Werner making the runs off of him. But he didn't. He didn't put Giroud on the field at all today. And all I'm thinking is, are you trying to freeze him out? Are you trying to freeze out the man that basically kept us in the Champions League last season? All of the hard work he did for you, all the times he busted his butt and won games for us at the end of last season to keep us in the Champions League. You're telling me you're going to keep him out of the team today? You're going to put Abraham in over him, and you're going to put Barkley on the field, but not Giroud. So, I'm not saying I want Lampard out. I still think he's got some learning to do, of course. He's still a young manager, but I still think he's a good manager for the most part. But some of his decisions today kind of made me want him out and want a manager who's not going to play English favorites. I'm not saying that's exactly what he's doing. I'm not saying that's on his mind. But when Barkley makes the field and Giroud does not, that's an issue. When Abraham makes the field over Giroud, that's an issue. And I don't see it getting fixed. I don't see that being fixed anytime soon because putting Barkley on the field was an issue at the end of last season. It's carried over into this season. He's still doing it, even though Barkley doesn't bring anything. The best example I can give you as to what Barkley brings is the one time he dribbled through 3 players right into the defense and gave the ball away and then didn't work to win it back. Another great example, the one time the ball went in, I don't remember who picked it up from the midfield. I want to say it was Thiago possibly. But you could see he stepped to here, ball came this way to his left. He couldn't even get his feet planted to get back to win that ball. He nearly trips over himself, and whoever picked up the ball just ran right past him like he wasn't even there. That's what Barkley brings. So, all of these decisions, I'm a little upset with Frank today. I'm a little upset with some of his decisions in the starting lineup, some of his decisions with the formation we decided to go with, and then some of his substitution decisions didn't make sense. The one that made sense was Tomori came on for Havertz. It's the only one that made sense to me. I was even saying Jorginho needed to come off next and possibly put on another striker, but then he waits until the game's nearly done and then does a double switch and brings on Abraham but not Giroud. And I don't know why. So, got some issues with Frank. Let's talk individuals and why these 4 in particular should definitely be gone. So first of all, Kepa, we already know why. We know Mendy's probably coming in. It needs to get done sooner rather than later. Honestly, I would like to hear from the club that it's done today. Like they officially announced that we've signed him today, and that we're getting him in because, oh, wow. The fact that we still have the fact that the keeper was not one of the first signings that we got in is kind of an issue. Like again, we've done pretty well in the transfer market, but that's one that I'm like, how come the keeper was not the first signing that was made? So there's that. As far as the back line, I mean, James hit or miss today, had some good moments, but also had a lot of moments of diving in, had a lot of moments of not tracking runners. The first goal, perfect example of that. Too many times he gets caught ball watching, cross comes in, guy runs in from behind him, and he has no freaking clue what's going on. So he's got to work on that because he does pretty well defensively most of the time. But there's just too many moments where you just see he's completely clueless, and you can't do that when you're a defender. And on the attack, I mean, again, we know he can deliver a cross. We know he can whip a ball in. He had at least 3 or 4 chances to do that today, I think, and none of them really came off. None of them were effective. They were all either overhit or underhit. So I expect more out of him. So that's kind of the problem whenever you are a youngster and you've set these expectations so high with some of your performances. When you start to drop off and you start to not do what you've been doing, it shows. Because you're young and you've got to prove yourself. So whenever you stop doing things that prove that you belong in there, and Lamptey meanwhile is tearing it up at Brighton, it does make you kind of wonder, why did we sell Lamptey and we're still holding on to James, and James is getting starting time. Zuma, again, I think he does an okay job, but mainly for himself. He's not really working with the other defender most of the time. Most of the time, they're pretty good at defending one-on-one situations most of the time. But the problem is that when you're in a back four, your 2 center defenders should be working together. If one steps, the other one covers. If one is marking, the other one needs to stay free. But they're never working in tandem. They're always, one goes and then one has to read the play and realizes, oh crap, I got to go mark him. And it just never works out. They hardly ever look like they're talking to each other. So again, hopefully Silva brings that. Hopefully he can come in and organize a bit, because especially today, whenever we went down to 10 men, you could definitely see the defensive issues and how disorganized we can get in there. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Christensen, because the thing is, I even put a comment in the Chelsea Facebook page how he needs to be sold. And everybody came to his defense. Not everybody. Most people just came to his defense. Oh, he saved a goal. Oh, he did that. Every defender would have done that. Zuma wasn't helping him out. Just going to go ahead, lay it out on the table. Obviously, it's easy to say now that we lost 2-0 that hurt us. But even before that, I'm thinking to myself, I'd rather be 1-0 down to Liverpool than 1 man down to Liverpool. And look at what happened. Other things. So Christensen and Zuma, I've already, I mentioned how they don't work in tandem. But here's the thing. Christensen is one-on-one with Mane. And instead of seeing that, and instead of putting himself in a position where he could step in front of him, what does he do? He waits, sees Mane starts to go, goes, oh crap, starts to go himself. You're going to lose a foot race with Mane. You're not that fast. We all know that. So go ahead and put yourself in a position to where if he does start to run on you, you can already be with him. Or talk to Zuma, let him know, hey, drop with me. But he didn't do any of those things because Christensen's a dumb defender. And I've talked about it so many times, he's not smart as a defender. He doesn't read the game as a defender. He doesn't track players as a defender. All of these things that a professional defender should be doing, he doesn't do any of them. He reacts to situations. He lets players run past him. He doesn't do enough. And I've been saying this now for several months. So the fact that this happened, not all too surprising to me. The fact that he makes this mistake, some people are like, oh, it's his first red card. It's not his first mistake. He's had several dumb decisions because he doesn't do that part of the game well. He's a dumb defender. And unfortunately, unlike Van Dijk, he doesn't have the athletic ability to make up for those dumb decisions. So get him out. He's not good enough. Unless he can learn from an experienced defender, but I've not seen that. How he's like 24, 25 now, I think. He's not that young anymore. Back when he was in his early, like 21, when he first started out, it was like, okay, he can learn, he can grow. He had enough there defensively to be like, he's tall, he can win the ball in the air, he puts in a good defensive challenge most of the time. He can grow, he can learn his deficiencies and how to fix those. He's a bit too old now to be learning all that stuff. He's at the point where he already should have learned and he already should have fixed all of these mistakes, and he hasn't. So here we are. So he needs to be gone. Like I'm done watching him. I'm done watching him make the same stupid mistakes. I'm done watching him just completely mess us up. And put us in a situation where there's so many ways you could have avoided having to rugby tackle him, but then you did and put us in a deficit. If you give away the goal, you're still an idiot for letting him go, but at the very least we can come back from 1-0. If we're 11v11, we have a chance to come back from 1-0. You look at what happened with Leeds last weekend, we can come back from 1-0 if it's 11v11. But you do this stupid stuff, we're not coming back if it's 11v10. It's not going to happen. They were already running us for most of the game. We go a man down, it's definitely not going to happen. So, yeah, Christensen needs to be gone, and anybody who's going to defend him either doesn't understand the sport, didn't actually watch it and just saw the last part of it, or they want to troll and they just want to be like, no, he's fine. They're probably like Man U fans in disguise that want us to keep him so that way they can take advantage of him. Anyways, so on to Alonso though. Again, just like against Brighton, I can't really fault him as much. Like, yeah, he makes some mistakes, yeah, he gets beat a lot, but he's not a fullback, and we all know this, and yet Frank keeps trying to play him there. So I'm kind of on the fence. It's like, yeah, he's not a good left back, but everybody and their mother knows this. So why does Frank keep insisting on playing him there? Yeah, I know Ben Chilwell's going to take that position as soon as he's fit. But how long until we have Ben Chilwell? We still, from what I hear, he's still at least a week or two away. He is training, but he's still not fully fit. So how long are we going to continue to try playing a left wing back in a left back position and just hoping it works? Because this is 2 weeks in a row that Alonso just keeps getting beat, keeps getting embarrassed, and I honestly kind of feel bad for him because I know that's not what he wants to do. I know that's not his position, but Frank just, I don't know, it's like he doesn't like him or something. He's like, all right, I want to show everybody how bad you are as a defender. Is that what he's trying to do? Because the thing is, you've got Aspilicueta on the bench. So if you want to play with a back four because you want to keep us in that system, then play Dave there because he can play left back. He's done it before. We've seen him do it before. So I'm so confused as to why Lampard can't see the issue and fix it as a coach. But anyways, I'm not getting it back on Lampard. The midfield three, Jorginho, same old Jorginho. He's just not good enough, especially to be the defensive holding midfielder in there, to be the last line of the midfield defense before they hit our defense. He's not good enough for that. Passing wise, he gives the ball away way too much to be a distributor. So yeah, he just doesn't need to be in there. And if he is going to be, don't make him your distributor, your holding mid, because he's just not. I know that's what he's supposed to be good at, but he's just not doing it right now. So I don't know what we've got to do, but he can't be there. Conte, he worked hard. That's what I'll say the difference between this game and last game for Conte. Last game, it seemed like there were some moments where he sort of turned off and didn't really work. This game, he worked hard. He did bust it for most of the game, but he's out of position. And every single time the ball went to him while he's in the box, all I can think is, only if that were like a Mason Mount or a Kovacic or a Havertz. If only they were the ones that were making the runs into the box instead of Conte, who should be holding deep and breaking up the play like he loves to do, like he always does, like we know he can do. I know I keep going back to the decisions made by Lampard, but I mean, my God, how many of them are so obvious that you just kind of wonder how he couldn't have made these decisions earlier. Kovacic was kind of hit or miss, as kind of same as James today. Had some moments where he did some good stuff, had some moments where he looked one of the better players, and then also had some moments where he gave the ball away too easily, or the challenge that he put in wasn't strong enough. dove into a challenge. So kind of hit or miss. And I know because the Chelsea fan base is already on him because they just don't think he's good enough because he doesn't assist or score. I know this is already going to put him under the fire more. So I hate that for him because I think he does so much more than assist or score that people that don't understand the game as well don't see, unfortunately. Um, so I hate it for him, but in my opinion, he was one of the more average players today, which compared to how everybody else played is actually pretty good. The front three, Mason Mount was pretty uninvolved for the most part. He popped up occasionally, but was just kind of out there. Didn't really do much on either side. Havertz again didn't do a whole lot. I know it's a second game. I know he just came in right before the Brighton game, so I know he's still growing, and I'm completely willing to give him and Werner time to get even better because Werner already is showing his ability and already has his moments where he's done a lot, and I think he's definitely showing his worth already. But he's also had a lot of time to sort of grow into this, whereas Havertz is still like week 2 for him. So I'm definitely holding out my judgment on Havertz, but I will say if he doesn't start working harder to win the ball back, I'm going to start to rate him like Loftus-Cheek because it's one thing to try something and it doesn't come off, but the problem I had with Loftus-Cheek last week is not that he tried stuff and it didn't come off. It was that he tried stuff, it didn't come off, and then he turned off. That's a problem. And Havertz did that quite a few times today where he tried to settle it, bad touch, or he tried to turn it, bad touch, tried to pass it into a defender, and then the demeanor just dropped and he didn't do anything else. That's a problem. That's a mentality issue, and you can't coach that. You can't coach mentality. You just have to have a good mentality. You have to have a hard work rate. Werner has that. So even though sometimes Werner, what he tries doesn't come off, he still works his butt off. So I don't have as much of a problem with him. Same for Conte. He's out of position. He's not being played where he should be playing. So a lot of times he makes mistakes. But he still works his butt off to go win the ball back. So I don't have a problem with Conte most of the time. But Havertz, he's starting to get into that mindset. Very similar Bakayoko. When Bakayoko first came in, he looked like he was going to tear up our midfield. He looked like he was going to be that big body, very similar to Matic, but faster than Matic, and a little bit more clever on the ball than Matic. And then he just stopped working. And then all of a sudden he became our worst player. So if Havertz doesn't get that mentality of lose the ball, turn off out of his head, he might end up being another one of our big flops. And I hate to say that. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but if he doesn't fix his mentality, it's definitely going to be an issue going forward. And then I already talked about Werner a little bit. He was definitely one of our better players just because of his work rate. And he created some good chances. He won us the penalty that Jorginho scuffed, which, by the way, the one thing that Jorginho consistently does well is score penalties, and he didn't even do that today. So another reason why I want him out. But yeah, Werner worked his butt off, tried as much as he could, but it's kind of hard whenever you're one man and you're not really getting much movement from the teammates around you. It's very difficult to do that, and that was kind of a problem for the team today, is that there wasn't enough movement, defensively or offensively. Defensively, it felt like one person pressured, and then they passed, and then too late. You stepped too late, and now they're past you, and now they're in behind. And offensively, it felt like there were too many times where one person would get on the ball, looking for a pass, there's nothing on. They either have to dribble into pressure, or they have to go back to defense, back to the keeper. And then Liverpool just put high pressure on again, and then suddenly we're pinned in, and we kick it long, we lose it, they're back at us. So, Liverpool played their part to perfection, but we did not do anything to alter that. We didn't do anything to put them under pressure and to cause them trouble. And that's the fault of everybody else around. Whenever the guy's on the ball and he's trying to look for a pass and there's nothing going on, you can't blame the guy for giving the ball away because nobody was helping him. So I feel like Werner was just put in that situation way too many times today. As far as the subs that came on, Tomori, I thought did okay in defense. He definitely didn't cover himself in glory in the first few minutes. A few times where it felt like he was losing track of men. But as he grew into the game, he started to play better. He started to be a part of the defense a lot better. And yeah, I've honestly wondered why Tomori sort of fell out after the first half of last season. I thought he was doing okay. I thought he was playing pretty well, especially for being a bit younger. Personally, I would rather have Tomori in the team than Christensen any day of the week. So I don't know why he fell out in the first place. But hopefully, after Christensen's dumb decision today, this means he'll start featuring more and start to grow more as well. And then Abraham and Barkley came on. Be perfectly honest, I didn't watch a whole lot after that point. I kind of zoned out because I was already zoned out. I was like, I hate this game. This is dumb. I want Christensen gone for causing this game to be a wash. And then whenever I saw Barkley and Abraham get put on, that's when I actually got kind of pissed because I'm like, Frank, what are you even trying to do here? Like, at least give Giroud some minutes, or something like that. But yeah, as it stood, I didn't see much from Abraham. I saw him make a couple runs with the ball and open up a couple lanes for Werner to run into as well. So it seems like he and Werner were combining a little bit, making runs off of each other. But I didn't see him do anything super productive. And then Barkley, like I said, he came on last week and basically did exactly what Loftus-Cheek was doing, which was nothing. And I expected him to either be worse than Loftus-Cheek or better than Loftus-Cheek, but he actually was the same as Loftus-Cheek. So the fact that he came on as a sub today, again, kind of shows that Frank is sort of out of touch. And I don't want to claim that, he's just trying to favor English players. But whenever you put Barkley out there, it kind of makes you look like you're favoring English players. Especially when you've got... honestly, you want to talk about another English player, put Hudson-Odoi on. Hudson-Odoi is one that in preseason, he looked a bit more lively than he did last season. He looked like he was ready to go for this season. And he's hardly featured since. So why are we not playing him? But Barkley, who doesn't do anything, who doesn't give us anything in the midfield, who gives the ball away, who doesn't defend well, you're still playing him. Why? So, yeah, I don't know. That's all I can really do is scratch my head and wonder what's going on behind the scenes. What's Frank doing? Does he see something in Barkley that none of us see? Or is this just English favoritism? I truly want to know. And I'm not trying to accuse him of anything, but I want to know what's going on there. But yeah, overall, obviously, the loss was pretty certain after the red card. The best thing we could hope for was just to keep it reasonable, and 2-0. It was okay, I think after they scored the second goal, though, they kind of sat off a little bit more. They weren't bombing forward like they were at the beginning of the second half when they first scored the 2 goals. So I think that kind of helped us a bit. And also, I think the fact that we started off the second half very slow and then eventually got back into our defensive rhythm that we had for most of the first half before Christensen screwed us over. So I think the second part of the second half was okay. It was decent. It kept it, I guess, respectable, and that's the only thing I was hoping for after what happened in the first half. But yeah, so you got to look at those 4 players. Kepa, 4 players. Kepa, you got to wonder, when are we finally going to get this keeper in, because we need him. Christensen, you got to say he's been making too many mistakes that the coaching staff should notice. And today was just, it doesn't get much dumber than that. You fail to read the run. You fail to put yourself in a position to track him. You fail to even just put your body in front of him. If you get called for obstruction at halfway, they're not going to red card you for that. But you letting him run in behind you and then straight up rugby tackling him, not even going shoulder to shoulder. If you're going shoulder to shoulder and you stick your foot out trying to win the ball, you get a yellow because it's not double jeopardy. Is it double jeopardy? I think that's the name of the rule, where if you're going for the ball, you don't get a red card. If you do that, you don't get sent off. But to basically just run up, bear hug him to the ground, you just don't get much dumber than that. So he's got to be done. And again, Jorginho is just not good enough to be in that defensive role. He's not good enough to be the deepest midfielder, so I don't know why he's there. If you want to try him a bit further up the field, maybe give that a go, see how good he is doing that. But Conte should be in the deep lying midfielder role, so don't know what Frank's trying there. And then Barkley he's not good enough, so stop trying him. Stop putting him on the field at all. I don't want him as a sub. I don't want him starting. Just stop. The Barkley experiment is dead. We've tried it. We've tried it several times. It's worked a couple times. There's been a couple false positives where it seems like maybe Barkley's going to work, and then it just doesn't. So quit trying it. And honestly, Lampard, he's got some decisions to make. He's got some choices he needs to make. He's still got time. I'm not saying he's on the hot seat because of this game, but I will say that there were a lot of decisions he could make in this game that would have fixed some of the problems, and then he didn't make them. Because he's got some struggles with injuries, but at the same time, you look at the lineup he put in, you look at the subs he put in, even with the injuries that we have, there's still a lot of decisions that he made today that were not good and really hurt us today. So, yeah, again, I'm not saying that I want Lampard out. I'm not saying that I think he's not going to make it as a manager. I think he'll be fine given time, especially after we get some of these players back from injury. But today definitely pissed me off with some of what he did. So, anyways, I'm done talking. I finally get to rant about everything that happened. Because honestly, that was the other frustrating part, is I'm sitting here for most of the second half, and my thought process is, well, I can't really start a review until it's at least in the last few minutes of the game, because if I start a review at 60 and then they go on and score 2 goals, well, then my review looks like stupidity. So I have to at least wait and see if it's going to be as bad as it looks. And then it got worse when the subs came on. So I'm just like sitting here, I'm like, I need to vent. I need to vent. Let me vent, please. I'm ready to vent. All this rage is building inside of me, and I'm ready to release it. So it's finally gone, and I can feel a little bit better now. Go on with my day. Gotta get Klopp off my screen. Anyways, with that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.